There's a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings success, companionship, happiness, health, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Welcome to another fantastic episode. I'm your host, Dr. Janine Burns, and I teach practical spirituality. The goal of Spirituality Rocks, we bring you nationally renowned guests who will inspire and empower you to awaken your divine nature and to expand your consciousness as you learn skills for life mastery. So I invite you to check us out on YouTube, and our website is up now. It's www.spiritualityrockstv.com. I'd like to know about some events coming up. There's the Women's Gold Rush Conference. You can check that out on the web, www.womensgoldrushconference.com. And that's going to be held in Chicago March 13th through the 15th. Terry Cole Whitaker is a keynote speaker. And we also have Sheila McKeithen and on and on. The list goes on and on. We have Stephanie Wilson Coleman, who's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks. And I'm actually going to be speaking in that event. So I hope you ladies can get out to Chicago. And if you like cruising, the affiliated New Thought Network, you can check them out at www.newthought.org. That's www.newthought.org. You can check them out because we are cruising in consciousness. We're leaving Fort Lauderdale on April 16th through the 20th, and we're going to Cozumel. Our keynote speaker for the cruise is, again, the delightful and inspirational Dr. Sheila McKeithen, who is the new president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living. So check out those things, and I think you will be inspired to participate. All are welcome to attend. So we're starting today with Dr. Frank zumMallen. Dr. Frank zumMallen is a New Thought minister. He's with the Awakening Ways Spiritual Center. He is a graduate of Emerson Institute. He has a BA and an MS in education. He's got a Doctor of Divinity in Religious Studies. And he's a student of transpersonal psychology as well as Eastern and Western mysticism. He is a buddy of mine. He is the past president of the affiliated New Thought Network. Welcome to Spirituality Rocks, Dr. Frank zumMallen.
Hi, Janine. How are you today?
Fantastic. Great to have you on the show.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Good. So my question to you is, what spiritual truth or idea have you been focusing upon lately?
I had an interesting meditation a couple of weeks ago. I usually, my favorite mantra is from Psalm 46, Be still and know that I am God. And I was meditating on that. I usually say, hush, be still and know that I am God is my mantra. And what came out of me in this meditation instead was, hush, be still, unknow that I am God.
Unknow?
And unknow, yes.
Oh, okay.
Unknow. And I thought about that again, and I tried saying it again, and it came out exactly the same way. And then there was these two voices talking inside my head that happens to me periodically, as I'm sure it does to everybody. And one said, what is it that you want? And the other voice said, to know God. Hush, be still, unknow that I am God. What is it that you want?
Wow.
And the other voice came back and said, to be. And when that happened, suddenly I've been meditating for 40 years, and all of a sudden I opened up into a spaciousness and a stillness I've never had before.
Wow.
It was way deeper than I've ever gotten. And what I came to realize is that those of us that are in New Thought metaphysics, those of us that are in any form of spirituality, no matter how much we may proclaim that God is not infinite person, the divine person, the old white guy with sitting on the throne of gold, somehow in our own minds we still personalize it.
Indeed. Even in our languaging, last night someone said, oh, God did this to me. And I thought, whoa.
Exactly. Exactly. And so what I really have been focusing on lately is the old Kabbalistic rabbinical idea that God is a verb.
God is a verb.
God is a verb. God is not a thing. That comes also from medieval Christianity. Meister Eckhart said that God is no thing. God is isness, which I love. That's such a neat word.
Right.
And that what we need to do is less of the inside our head spiritual stuff and more of the being of the divinity in our lives. Now, and exercising and practicing those principles in our lives rather than talking about those principles. And so that's what I've been working on.
Well, that's fantastic. So the action of God, being the action of God, that's great.
Yeah, being God's action, because we're never going to find it, as Dr. Holmes said, the only God we ever know is the one we embody. Well, we need to embody it more, and I've been really studying what does that mean for me. How does it mean that I be in the world? To use really bad grammar, but it means something. How do I be in the world? And so, it's things like not judging anybody, myself or anyone else. That's one that I work on constantly. I don't know about you.
Right.
And remembering always that everything always is exactly the way it's supposed to be, and everything always is works out exactly the way it's supposed to. And just continuing to work on those kinds of things in my daily life in a larger way than I have in the past. And even though I've been doing this stuff now for all these years, I still find that it's important for me to continue to be who I am in potential and to continue to remind myself that that's being the divinity.
Exactly. That's fantastic. I'm speaking at United Palace House of Inspiration this coming Sunday, February 1st, 2015, at noon. It's actually live streamed if anybody wants to watch it. And I'm going to be talking about love. They asked me to speak about love. And, so the action of God, the Bible says God is love. So being love is about stepping out of judgments and unconditionally loving and supportive. We can't really define love because it's such a big word, but we all know what it feels like, and we all know what it means when we're being nourishing and supportive and encouraging and not being judgmental. So, and it's not easy to be unjudgmental. That's
right. It's really difficult. But that idea that love is such a big word, that's the reason that I love Greg Bear's definition of unconditional love, what he calls real love. He says that love is caring absolutely and unconditionally about the happiness of another person.
I'm writing this down just so you know. Love is caring absolutely and unconditionally about another person.
Care about the happiness of another person. In other words, it matters to me whether or not you're happy. It's not always my responsibility to make you that way, but I care. But I need to continue to care all the time. And my actions need to, if not enhance your happiness, at least never detract from your happiness.
Right. You're a real love coach, as I recall, now that I'm thinking about it.
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
I have been for years, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you incorporate that a lot in your coaching and your ministry? Do you incorporate that work a lot?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I find that a great deal of the work I do with people who are really limited in their life experience has to do with how they have or have not been loved in their lives. And that lack of love that they've experienced in their lives comes back in their life experience as that limitation that they experience because they don't believe they're worthy of it.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. Does that wind back to self-love? But you're right. So what I heard you say is that the limitation comes from not perceiving that you're worthy of it.
Yes.
Ooh, that's huge. Well, in New Thought, when we know, that's one of the wonderful things I love about New Thought is that as you really do your study and you understand God and your connection to God, then your self-esteem rises, not in an egotistical way, but in a way of understanding and knowing and living from the awareness that I am divinely guided, I am immersed in this energy of love, and understanding, having what my friend Rocco calls PMA, positive mental attitude, and understanding the creative power of your thought. And then, when you get that way, you realize that you're never alone. And that's what's so cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
In New Thought, we like to say, God in me and through me and as me is me.
Indeed.
Yeah, indeed. So let me.
Yeah.
I want to.
And it's the through me that I've been working on. It's through me in terms of my actions, my thoughts, everything I'm doing in my life, and really focusing on how I express that.
Thank you. This is great. So I want the people to know that if they want to check out more of your work, I think you're in Atascadero, California. Is that right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Hey, I learned how to say it.
You did.
And so people can check you out at www.awakeningways.org. That's www.awakeningways.org. And they can find out more of your work. Now, are you going on the cruise with the affiliated New Thought Network?
Yes, I am.
How exciting. And you're bringing your delightful wife?
Of course.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that ship. I think it's got 9 levels, so we're going to have to figure out a swimming pool to rendezvous at or something, because
There you go.
look forward to spending some time with you and reveling in your consciousness of love and light. And I thank you so much for again joining us on Spirituality Rocks.
Oh, thank you, Janine. Thanks for inviting me back. I have enjoyed it.
You take good care.
Bye.
So Dr. Frank zumMallen of Awakening Ways Spiritual Center, www.awakeningways.org. Awesome. Okay, so brief commercial break, and we're going to be back with the prolific author and inspirational teacher, Bonnie Barnard. Stay tuned for more of Spirituality Rocks.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
We're going to do a live commercial. Hi, I'm Renee Marie. I'm the president of Language of Love Incorporated Foundation. I'm really happy to tell you that we're going to be doing a Language of Love telethon on March 29, 2015 from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please look for the location on my website, ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. And once again, it's ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. And the show will be hosted on the Madhouse TV. It really is important for you to be aware of strokes and aphasia. Strokes is the third leading cause of death in America and the first leading cause of disability. And it really is something that plays no favoritism. And it also really comes when you're not expecting. Nobody expects to have a stroke, and nobody expects to suffer from aphasia. And it really does make a huge impact in your life and change your life in one split second. So we look forward to having everyone join us once again on March 29, 2015 from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you could follow us on ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. Once again, it's ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. And we look forward to seeing you. God bless.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns, with another fantastic episode. And right now I have via Skype an incredible woman. She is such a prolific author. Her books are absolutely amazing. And she's just an all-around good guy, as we say here in New York. Welcome to Spirituality Rocks, Dr. Bonnie Barnard. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you with us, Bonnie. Bonnie is the author of A Year of God, A Year of Good. So it's a play on the word God. Excuse me, play on the word good. One of the O's is in parentheses, so it's A Year of God, A Year of Good. And they're daily lessons for the mystic in training, which are fantastic. And then Bonnie also has a book called Affirmative Prayer, Becoming Your Own Answered Prayer. And actually, I'm going to ask her to do an affirmative prayer a little later in the show. And her other book, Qualities of God, Qualities of Being. If you're a minister watching this show, get that book because you'll get lots of food for writing your inspirational talks on for Sundays. So, Bonnie, you live in Arizona. And
Yep.
Arizona is where they're having the Super Bowl this coming Sunday, February 1st. And
Yes.
people
Thank you
are...
so much for having me on and letting me talk about the Super Bowl and spiritual insights I've learned from studying football this past year.
Now, that's pretty exciting that you have gleaned spiritual insights from watching football. And pretty exciting. So tell me a little bit, what climate is in preparation for the Super Bowl out there? It must be nuts.
Well, it is. And I typically take about 20 minutes to get to and from my hairdresser. And I went yesterday and it was a 45-minute drive. And it took so long because the streets have been converted into Super Bowl Central. And so just 3 blocks from me is a setup for ESPN. It's called ESPN Central.
Uh-huh.
And they're interviewing players and they're interviewing commentators and fans alike. And there are now souvenir stores up and down all of the streets for the Super Bowl. And there's live bands and there's celebrities. And it is really a happening place right now.
That's pretty exciting. That's
It
very
is.
exciting. So
Very fun.
how did you even get interested in football?
Well, this is a funny story and a long story in that I grew up in Seattle and my dad was a football coach for young guys and he loved football. So he actually bought inaugural seats for the Seahawks.
Oh.
So he was a ticket holder since '76 and he dragged all of his children with him to go watch the Seahawk games.
Okay.
And I was one of those kids who didn't like going because the time of year that the Seahawks played is cold in Seattle. It's raining. Sometimes it can be very windy. It can be snowing. And I don't like cold temperatures.
Okay.
So I moved to Arizona, right?
Right.
So I have probably 75% of my friends on Facebook from Seattle. And last year, Seattle was going to the Super Bowl. So all of a sudden, my Facebook page was just covered with all of these very sane human beings dressed up crazy, changing their offices to be like Seahawk headquarters and acting bizarre. And I'm thinking, how can these incredibly sane people have gone off the deep end?
Well,
what's going on?
And I know that you were saying that there was somebody who had her high heels custom painted with the Seahawks logo on them.
That's correct. My daughter's best friend from high school brought her favorite shoes in to be custom painted with the Seahawk logos on them.
And people dress up their dog in Seahawk gear.
Dress up their dogs, and they wear those mullet wigs that are blue and green and, stick up out here. And they go without shirts on in those snow, and they paint their bodies green and blue, and the fans are crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Uh-huh.
And so I started getting really curious
Right.
about the energy behind something in our culture that has the biggest viewing ever.
Millions watch the Super Bowl.
Actually, the Super Bowl is the most watched show in the history of America.
Wow.
And last year for the Super Bowl, 117.7 million people watched the game.
Yeah, I heard they are speculating well over 115 million this year. That's
Crazy.
crazy, right? Okay, so keep going.
So as a spiritual being, you have to excuse me, I have something in my eye.
Oh,
But
okay, dear. No
as a
worries.
spiritual being, I'm getting really curious about this.
Right.
Because what is it that is attracting mass humanity to this event? And before I started getting curious, I was extraordinarily judgmental. And that's where I loved your last guest.
So you thought the people were crazy and nuts for getting dressed up like this and all the Facebook posts and all the hoo-ha. Okay.
And I thought that the whole game was crazy. I mean, a bunch of refrigerator-sized men running up and down a field to catch a pigskin little ball, jumping all over each other and getting paid millions of dollars. I mean, really?
Oh, that's great.
And as a spiritual being, as a human being, as someone on this planet,
Right.
I don't like the idea of head injuries and the other stuff that comes with football.
Okay.
But what I learned is, as being judgmental and partitioning it off from my life experience actually kept me limited from connecting with other people, especially people I love who care about the game. And so this past year, I went on an exploration to find out why the Super Bowl and why football is such a big deal for America. And it was so surprising what I discovered as far as the spiritual underpinnings of that sport.
Really, really. Tell me more. What did you discover?
Yay! Okay. So this is what I discovered. First of all, the first thing I noticed when I started watching the game is that the game is filled with ritual.
Okay.
Filled with ritual. Okay, well, isn't that what us spiritual people do all the time, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Well, what ritual do you see in football?
We have a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
We have a practice.
Right.
In football, the different fractions of the game have different rituals, but we'll start with looking at the players.
Okay.
Okay, so the players start their day by entering the locker room, probably taking a shower, getting all taped up, doing their stretches. And according to my research, most all teams do a prayer before they go out on the field.
Really?
Yes. And then each and every player will have his own ritual that he does. And some of the players have things like they eat 2 chocolate chip cookies before a game.
Oh, okay.
Right? Or they have to touch 3 people before they go out and play, or they spend a certain amount of time in silence, or, whatever. So they've got their thing going on.
Uh-huh.
And then the fans, of course, have got their ritual. And you cannot talk to a diehard fan without them telling you why a team won and what they did on that day to help that team win.
Oh, you mean they had their own little thing that they did. Okay.
Yes, and so most fans have a favorite shirt that they wear, or they don some kind of clothing that is in alignment with the game, so they have a ritual with that. They often have a certain food that they eat or a certain drink that they drink, whether they're at home or in a stadium. They possibly, if they go live, will be involved in tailgating. There will be some kind of ritualistic schedule. My dad used to love to take the bus in so he didn't have to drive. And he would have his ritual of putting on his certain gear, driving to the bus area, getting on and taking the bus, and everyone in the bus would be fans, and they would sing songs, and they would chant chants, and they would all get there as a group together. And then they get in and go to their assigned seats. And then the stadium has a whole ritual and process that goes along with that. And as I learned more about the Seahawks, because of course I'm from Seattle, so that's why I looked at them.
Uh-huh.
As I learned more about them, they have a coach, Janine, that is a huge meditator.
Paul Allen?
No, he's the owner. So the coach is Pete Carroll.
And he is a huge meditator.
Huge meditator, and brought meditation practices to the team.
Really?
And so what he did when he came to Seattle is he said, I am going to take everything I know that works and bring it to this team and institute it. So when he came on as coach, He started by having meditation services on Sundays that the ball players had the option of attending.
Okay.
And then the following year it was mandatory.
Oh, wow.
It was part of the team practice. What he realized is that in the NFL, that there tended to be the feeling amongst the players of incredible isolation. And so he
What?
created an environment of connection and team cohesiveness.
You're kidding me. I'm astonished to hear this. There was a sense of isolation.
Huge sense, because think about it, these guys are the very best of the best in their high school and then on into college, and now they're hitting the NFL, and they're coming into work with the very, very most elite, best of the best in the league.
Right.
They they have their contracts negotiated separately. Most teams work these young men like they're workhorses.
Wow.
I mean, they're very expensive, right? And so if they aren't doing well, they get yelled at a lot, they get criticized, and it's isolating because of the environment.
Wow.
And so what Pete Carroll said was that he wanted to create an environment that demonstrated compassion, caring, and love, Janine.
Holy cajoli.
These guys do yoga together.
Really?
Yes, yoga, meditation, and they have this rule. I loved this. There is no complaining.
Right.
And when you read Emma Curtis Hopkins' work, what you learn is that there's only one no in metaphysics, and that one no is no complaining.
Right.
So they have the rule of no complaining, no yelling, no swearing.
Really?
And they are fed with the best organic food that is made available.
Isn't
They
that
have
something?
grass-fed chicken that they eat. They have organic fruits and vegetables. And they also have a psychologist on the team that works with them. And his whole approach has been, let's create a team that is built in and from health.
That's fantastic.
And I know, I couldn't be more proud, right?
And you know what I love, because, I back in 1997, I went over to Moscow with La Vida Worldwide Ministries, and I taught values, the rules by which you live your life. And after studying them and thinking about it a lot, once we have our basic food, shelter, clothing, water, I think our greatest value is connection. Connection to God, of course, but connection to one another. And so many of us do feel disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from God. And so the fact that they are purposefully focusing on cohesiveness and connection, that is outstanding.
Yes, and so when I started watching the games this year, I really watched how the players interacted with each other. And just this last game, which was phenomenal, prior to this last game that they were playing, they had the quarterback from the opposing team, and I don't even remember the name of the team, but they had the quarterback that they said is the best quarterback in the league. This is what the sports commentators were saying.
Okay.
They were saying, we are now going to interview the very best quarterback in the league.
Okay.
And they did an interview with one guy. And then they said, now we're going to Seattle, and we're going to interview their team leaders. And there were 4 guys that they interviewed. And right there and then, I had a light bulb go off in my head, and you can relate to this.
What?
I said, I would any day take 4 excellent players over one of the best, because the 4 excellent players that play as a team create between them a field of consciousness that is as though it has multiplied. We know this from metaphysics, that when 2 or more are in agreement, there's a multiplication factor on the field.
Yes.
So I would any day take 4 excellent players over the one best.
Right.
And I just had that hit me of how brilliant that is, because strategically to build cohesion amongst people creates a field that can be relied upon.
Right, a synergy. Yeah. That's amazing. A synergy and a consciousness. That's phenomenal.
Synergy and consciousness. So that's one of the insights. Now, the second insight, which is brief, is that I realized that our soul loves greatness, right?
Yes.
We feel the best about ourselves when we are performing at our highest, most optimal state of being. Well, in observing a football game and standing witness to a football game, we are watching the very, very elite of the elite who have utilized their body and their strategy in such a way that they have made it to this point.
Yes.
And there's something about us that loves to stand witness to the best or the most disciplined in humanity.
Indeed.
Whether it be music, whether it be sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing I recognized was that if you sit amongst huge fans, either in the stadium or in a restaurant or bar, if you sit amongst the fans, the fan base, they will be 100% totally and completely in the moment.
Fascinating. You're right. They are so in the moment. They're not thinking about any task or their work or anything. They are so present. And gosh, what a huge spiritual principle that is about being in the now moment.
Absolutely. And I would say that the reason, this is my guesstimation, that one of the reasons that so much alcohol can be consumed by fans is that I think for people who don't practice being in the moment at that level of intensity is uncomfortable.
Okay, say that again. So that's why they can have so much alcohol?
That I believe one of the reasons that fans may medicate through alcohol is
gotcha.
because it's so uncomfortable when you're not
Clear.
practiced living from being in the moment to be at that level of in the moment intensity.
It's so intense, right? Clear. Gotcha. As those people who do it as a practice every day. Yeah. Oh, this is so fascinating. I love this. This is really exciting.
I know.
Do you have any other points before I ask you to do an affirmative prayer?
I do.
Okay.
I have my biggest point of all.
Tell me your biggest point of all.
My biggest point of all is that every single one of the positions involved in football, you and I have done in our lives.
Oh.
And so therefore we have direct relatedness to it. And so starting by looking at the owner, you and I both, and those who are watching the show, have had the experience in our lives of putting forth some significant funding for something that we have believed would benefit ourselves, our families, and the community. And we have a stake in the game. So that's the role of the owner, is he or she is the one with the stake.
Wow.
And then we have the coach, and the coach is the leader. And whether we have been the leader for the PTA or been the leader for our yoga class or been the leader in a church group, whatever our leadership has been, or whether a boss at work, we have at one time or another been responsible for the training, the teaching, and the holding the high watch for a group of people to succeed. So we can relate to the coach.
And holding the high watch, explain what you mean by that.
It means holding the vision for a group of people of who they can be so they can step into it.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay. And then every one of us has been that team player where we have had to play with people, whether we like them or not. We have been put in position that we have relied upon others and others have relied upon us in order to get a job done. We have been in a position where our role has been defined for us and we're there to execute a role. And then second to lastly, then we have the commentators who talk about the plays and their perception of the plays. And I would venture to guess that every single human being on this planet has had the experience of someone else judging and giving their opinion as to how they are and aren't doing.
Right.
And then lastly, and this is so powerful, is the fan. And what has been noted starting as early as the 1900s is that the energy of the fan base has been essential to a team's success.
Yes.
And there was actually an article written back in 1900 in a University of Minnesota magazine that spoke to that third hidden element. And of course, we know that from metaphysics as well, right?
Okay.
You know, that we know the power of that invisible spaciousness that exists. Well, the fan has become called the 12th player on a team now. There's 11 players on the team. The fan community is considered to be the 12th player.
Wow.
Because their contribution is absolutely integral to the success of a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the fans, they bring in the cheerleading. The fans are the people who love the game. Mm-hmm. They love the players and they love the game. They are the teachers and the parents and all of those people that we've had in our lives that have gone, go Janine, go, you can do it, right?
Excellent, yes.
And they're absolutely essential. So we have lived every single one of those components in a football game. And so I venture to say that football has become for each one of us a multi-dimensional experience because we can experience it from multiple roles.
This is so fascinating for me, and
I'm telling you.
Yeah, this is great. So this sounds like it's going to be a powerful talk, and to really understand how the Super Bowl can be so spiritual is pretty fascinating.
It is.
Yeah.
Very fascinating. Yeah.
So we just have like another minute or before we shift gears here. I'm going to request, you did write a book on affirmative prayer. It's called Affirmative Prayer, Becoming Your Own Answered Prayer. And I want the viewers to know that they can go to www.bonniebarnard.com. That's www.bonniebarnard.com. You can check out Reverend Bonnie's blog there. And also you can check out her books are available at that website, bonniebarnard.com. So would you be willing to do, and this was one of the trick questions when I got my licensed credentials, was one of the trick questions was they asked you to pray for a particular team to win the Super Bowl.
No, I won't do it.
And we couldn't do it because what we did pray for instead was that everybody played to their best ability and they were safe, etc., and that it was an exciting game and on and on. So yeah, but
that's interesting you say that because last week when the Seahawks were playing, they were not playing well, and during halftime I turned off the TV and my prayer was that they played full out to their greatest ability,
right,
and not the specific outcome, but just that they played well, and the second half they really did well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm wondering if you would be willing to do a prayer right now for peace of mind, or whatever you want to, but I think if you include peace of mind, let's do that.
Okay. All right then. So together, and I close my eyes, I just know that there's one presence, one God, and one life. There's not two of anything. There's not two. There's not dual. There is not God and Janine. There's God as Janine. And there's not God and Bonnie. There's God as Bonnie. There's one life, one presence, one God, one good. And so as this is true, then I know that the peace of God, which is a quality or attribute of God, is alive and well right here and right now, and it is alive and well in, through, and as all creation. There is no exception to this. I speak my word for myself and for Janine and for anyone who is watching or listening today, that divine presence of peace that is in operation always is known through our body system, that each and every cell is peacefully in operation doing what is its to do, that each breath that we take, each breath that is being breathed through us, relaxes our body temples as the peace of God that we are. I speak my word that there is peace within me and peace amongst me and those that appear to be separate from me, the other, that the other or the thou is the one in form as well and is also peaceful. So I claim my peace, I claim the peace, and I know that peace is on the ball field today, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Thank you so much. Bonnie Barnard, Do check her out, www.bonniebarner.com. Check out her blog, check out her books. Thank you so much for joining us again on Spirituality Rocks. You rock.
Had a ball. Thank you.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wow, wasn't that fun? That was really quite fascinating. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we're going to have the filmmaker John Miller from Mobile, Alabama will be joining us via Skype. So don't go far. It'll be a brief commercial break, and we'll be back with more of Spirituality Rocks.
Stretching under sedation or manipulation under anesthesia is a very gentle, very precise procedure to very slowly release any scar tissue that is formed as a result of a traumatic injury. Many people ask, how does this work? Will I get hurt? Will you stretch me too far? We only stretch the body part to its normal range of motion. After completing the post-MUA rehabilitation program, it's very common that our patients say to us, hey, I can play ball with my kid again. Hey, I can bowl again. Hey, I can enjoy hiking again. This is what makes it rewarding to us as practitioners.
We're going to do a live commercial. Hi, I'm Renee Marie. I'm the president of Language of Love Incorporated Foundation. I'm really happy to tell you that we're going to be doing a Language of Love telethon on March 29, 2015 from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please look for the location on my website, ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. And once again, it's ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. And the show will be hosted on the Madhouse TV. It really is important for you to be aware of strokes and aphasia. Strokes is the third leading cause of death in America and the first leading cause of disability. And it really is something that plays no favoritism. And it also really comes when you're not expecting. Nobody expects to have a stroke, and nobody expects to suffer from aphasia, and it really does make a huge impact in your life and change your life in one split second. So we look forward to having everyone join us once again on March 29, 2015 from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. And you can follow us on ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. Once again, it's ReneeMarieLanguageOfLove.org. And we look forward to seeing you. God bless.
You're watching Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine Burns. Check out our website, www.spiritualityrockstv.com. I'm excited about this next guest because this guy, he is a pioneer. He's an independent video producer based out of Mobile, Alabama. And for the past 10 years, he's been part of productions across the Gulf Coast area. And it was in 2013 that he released a documentary, his first, entitled What is New Thought, that was highly acclaimed. It was just, what a fantastic piece. And big viewership, grassroots effort, and it prompted lots of screenings at New Thought churches and centers across the country. He is just about set to release the follow-up film called A New Thought, A New You. Welcome to Spirituality Rocks, John Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Janine. It's great to be here.
Oh, fascinating. Please call me Janine. Just great to have you on the show. Really good to have you on the show. And so this movie, What is New Thought, how did that even come about, the first movie, What is New Thought?
Well, the first movie came about. I had kind of fallen out of church somewhat, and had began reading, as a lot of people do, self-help books.
Okay.
And as I began to read stuff like Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra and some of these folks, it became clear to me that there was some kind of spiritual undercurrent to it, but I wasn't sure what it was. And it really started to have an influence on my life, all this personal development. And as it began to make an impact on my life, it took an impact on my music. I'm also a musician, and started playing more positive music, and became curious about, where are people hearing positive messages? Where are they hearing positive music? And I started doing a little search on the internet and stuff, and found out about this guy named David Alt,
Yes.
who I know you're familiar with.
He's been on the
And,
show.
Okay, great. I love David. And he was actually in Mobile at that time as a religious science minister, and contacted him, and he really kind of introduced me to the New Thought movement, and it kind of took off and branched out from there. And I became curious about some of the history of the New Thought movement. And as you know, it has roots and influences on so many other things, such as, like we were talking about, the self-help movement,
Yeah.
and so many other things that we find in our popular culture nowadays. And so that's really what the original movie was all about, is finding and tracing some of those influences.
And I first met you at the International New Thought Alliance. It was over in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
And, actually now it's more than a year ago. I think I met you 2 years ago, now that I think about it, 2.5 years ago. And so last year you interviewed me. And that was kind of fun when you asked me how I got into New Thought.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny. I got into INTA a couple years ago, and we screened What is New Thought. And this past year, I came back, and I was a speaker on the opening night. And I'm one of these people that's more comfortable when I have a guitar in my hand, or I have a camera that I'm sitting behind. And so I brought my camera with me, and I said, you know what, I'm going to interview some people while we're here at the INTA Congress. And so I contacted you to see if you'd be interested, and you were kind enough to kind of share your story about how you got into New Thought. And that's what a lot of this new movie is all about. It's about people and their personal transformation stories, how they found out about New Thought, and what a difference it's made in their lives. And, of course, you told your story about how you went to a bookstore and a book fell off the shelf. You can tell them this story.
Well, yeah, it was in New Jersey, and I went to a bookstore, and a book fell off the shelf in the back, and it was called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And so I went, I was a good girl, so I went to put the book back on the shelf, and I said, wow, I didn't know I had power. So I bought the book, which was quite fortuitous because a few days later, I had gone to a voice lesson, and I took a deep breath, and I doubled over in pain. I was really, 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 really sick. And I really couldn't do anything. I mean, I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. It was really bad. And so, of course, I sought medical attention. And I was so sick, the doctor really couldn't even examine me because I was in so much pain. I had abdominal pain. So, turns out he sent me home with some antibiotics. He said, come back in a week and we will develop a therapy to get you better. I said, okay. So I left, and since I really couldn't do anything, because I was in so much pain, I was writhing in pain, I was reading to distract myself. So I decided to read about the power of your subconscious mind. And the book said that there's an infinite intelligence within you. You can call upon this power. You can heal your body. You can have a peaceful, a productive life, a rewarding life, a fulfilling life. And I said, cool beans. So I read it, and what it said is, through the power of infinite intelligence within me, or the power of God within me, my body is renewed, renourished, and revitalized. And I still remember it. Every cell, every muscle, every tissue, every bone in my body is renewed, renourished, and revitalized through the power of God within me. And I said that over and over and over like a mantra. And when you think about it, like say you can say it like 5 times in a minute, and then there's 60 minutes an hour, that's 300, and then how many hours a day? I must have said it that week. I calculated at least 20,000 times because I couldn't do anything else because I was so sick. By the end of the week, a couple of days later, I started feeling better, and I kept doing it and doing it. By the end of the week, I was fine. So I went back to the doctor, and he examined me, and he said, wow. He said, you're fine. And I said, yeah, I'm feeling really good. And he said, well, you know, if I had not been the doctor who examined you, I wouldn't believe these notes here. I can't believe it. What happened? So I tried to explain to him about this infinite intelligence and everything, and he said to me, you know, I really don't understand what you're saying to me. He said, but keep on doing what you're doing, and that's what I did. And the end of the story, which is really kind of fun, when I was a little girl, I always wanted to be a minister. I was just enamored with being a minister. I mean, I can remember 5 years old, that's all I wanted to be was a minister. But back in the day, there weren't women ministers. It wasn't even until the mid-'80s that women could become ministers, even in the Lutheran church, and I was brought up Lutheran. But I really wasn't into traditional religion. There were too many unanswered questions, too many things I needed to believe on face value. So, and I think they didn't really like me asking all those questions, actually. So they said to me, well, you know what, Janine, you could marry a minister or you could be a missionary. Well, I was outraged by that because that was, you know, the time of women's liberation. I could marry a minister. And I didn't really want to be a missionary because I didn't believe in proselytizing. I really believe make it available and people will figure it out because it's innately within. They know that they have this power. So my girlfriend called from California. She said, oh, I found this cool church. Go over to Hicksville. And so I happened to go into the back door of the church, which was the library. And don't you know, when I walked in the door, the first things that my eyes rested upon was the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And so isn't that something? So I knew enough by then about coincidence and synchronicity to know that I was in the right place. And that's started my journey. I began studying. I took accredited classes. And, you know, after 3-4 years, I really liked what I was studying. And I started, and that's why credentials began. So after that very long story.
That's really cool, though, because it came full circle for you.
It came full circle. It was really fascinating for me. And then ever since then, I've been studying and teaching. I mean, I've traveled around the United States teaching, which in the long run has served me well doing this TV show because I know so many people and having them as guests. And also I worked for Reverend Ike for years and years, starting in 1997 in New York City, and that was a fantastic job. I was the director of a very progressive spiritual center over here on Long Island. That's where we're filming live. And so, yeah, it's really, when I look back, I say, wow, it's like my life was orchestrated to do this. It's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, the funny thing is, you know, there's so many great stories that people have about how they got into New Thought. And it's really, like you said, it's synchronicity. There's a part in there where Harry Morgan Moses is talking about...
Friend to the
so
show.
many times. Yeah, he was on the show.
He's going to be on the show again March 13th, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Harry Morgan Moses.
Yeah, me too.
But he says that, you know, most people get into New Thought out of desperation or inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. You know, there's so many people that have stories like yours that they found some kind of healing power out of this New Thought teaching out of necessity. They needed that healing in their life, and so they turned to you know, the quickest thing that they could get their hands on, and so many times it ends up being some kind of New Thought teaching.
Yeah. So who else is in the movie besides Harry Morgan Moses?
Well, we've got the lovely Dr. Janine Burns.
Well, thank you, thank you.
We've also got Della Reese tells her story as to how she got into New Thought.
Yeah, she used to do that Touched by an Angel. Very well-known singer. Okay, Della Reese, who else?
That's right, and she's a New Thought minister. A lot of people, some people aren't aware of that.
Yeah.
She's a New Thought minister. We talked to Wally Amos, famous Amos.
Oh, the chocolate chip cookie people.
That's right, the Cookie Man.
A Cookie Man. Okay, who else?
And he tells his story about how he first got into Unity. We have so many great teachers.
Greg Barrett.
Dr. Joe Vitale.
Joe Vitale.
The Secret. I mean, we just have just a whole host of...
Was Greg Barrett in it?
Greg Barrett is in it.
How about Helen Carey?
Helen Carey is in
How about Barbara
there.
King?
Barbara King.
Really? Oh.
We've got.
I'm in
so many
good
wonderful
company,
people.
John.
That's right. You are. You're in good company there.
I'm playing with the big kids. That's great.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. And so the movie is going to be released when?
Well, you're going to start seeing it shown at different New Thought churches and centers starting in February.
Great.
You can go to our website, anewthoughtanewYou.com, and find a schedule. And then we're hoping by maybe by summer it'll be available just on DVD where the general public can find it
Terrific.
and get a hold of it.
Well, we're going to have you back on the show in the summer then. But in the meantime, we did put the banner up on the screen. A New Thought, A New You is the name of the movie that this pioneer documentarian John Miller has put together. And do you have a second website?
Yeah, you can also find us at newthoughtmovie.com.
Newthoughtmovie.com.
Right. That was where a lot of our stuff for What is New Thought. You can find a lot more about that movie there.
Right. That's very exciting. And I love your idea that a lot of the New Thought centers and churches will be screening it, and then come summer, people can actually buy the DVD and see it for themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Last time we kind of released it on DVD and allowed the churches and centers to kind of screen it, but it ended up where so many people had gotten their hands on it before some of the churches had even found out that they could do screenings, that a lot of their members had already seen it. So we're trying to give them a little bit of a head start.
Heads up. That's cool. Okay, so what's next on the horizon for you, John? What's next? And we know you're a musician.
That's right. I'm a musician. I'm going to be going to some of these screenings that are taking place around the country. And I've also got another documentary in the works for the fall, and it's kind of more music-based, but I'm doing a documentary on cigar box guitars.
Really?
People, they take, they can take cigar boxes or all sorts of other things that you wouldn't normally think of making an instrument out of, and people make.
That's pretty wild. That's really wild. Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining us on Spirituality Rocks. I want to invite the people to check out tell me the web address again.
That's right, anewthoughanewYou.com.
I do have it right, anewthoughanewYou.com. And I just want to thank you so much for just following your vision, your purpose, really making a difference in the world, and just being a beacon of light. I bless you and I praise you, and I really appreciate you. Thanks for being on Spirituality Rocks, John.
Thank you, Janine. I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. Well, wasn't that fascinating? Another great episode. I'd like to give a shout out to my producer and sound engineer. That's Tommy Marr, as well as Janine Zarelli. We're over here at the Madhouse TV studios in Deer Park, Long Island, New York. And I want you to tune in next week. We're going to have Karen Balistrieri. She's going to be talking about essential oils. And Dr. Michael Posner, Huntington Chiropractic, will be with us as well. We have a lot of great things coming up. Don't forget the Women's Gold Rush Conference.com. Don't forget to go to newthought.org to find out about special events coming up. In the meantime, watch the rest of the show. We're going to roll some credits about how you can find out more of New Thought. In the meantime, remember the power is within you. Keep a positive mental attitude and go out there. Stop judging and be supportive and encouraging, and you will lead a peaceful, productive, and rewarding life experience. I'm Dr. Janine Burns signing off for Spirituality Rocks.